Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to unpack the science behind how we work, think, and feel, giving you the insights you can actually use. And today, wow, we are tackling something huge, emotional intelligence, or EQ. It often gets dismissed maybe as a soft skill.
Yeah, kind of fluffy sometimes. But the research we're looking at, it paints a very different picture. It suggests EQ might be the most critical factor for your success.
It's a bold claim right off the bat.
Mm.
The core idea from our sources is that EQ could be like 4 times more important than your IQ for success in life and work.
4 times. It's a staggering ratio. We're talking about this idea that long-term success might be, say, 80% down to your emotional intelligence and only 20% to your raw cognitive ability, your IQ score.
Exactly. And let's be clear, this isn't just about, playing nice with others. It's about real competence.
Think about it practically. You could have someone incredibly smart, maybe a top analyst, IQ off the charts, understands all the data. But if they freeze under pressure or they can't communicate their insights effectively to the team or manage their own stress, well, that high IQ doesn't help much then, does it?
Right. It's like having a super powerful computer with no operating system to run the programs. The EQ is the OS.
That's a great way to put it. So if success really leans that heavily 80% on emotional mastery, we need to figure out how to cultivate it.
So that's our mission for this deep dive, to
Yeah.
really break down EQ, get past the buzzwords. We'll look at its history a bit. Plato even touched on this, and then the big shift in the 90s.
And crucially, we want to show its real impact. How it affects your career, sure, but also your relationships, your mental health, basically your whole life.
Okay, let's start with a core definition. What is emotional intelligence, fundamentally?
At its heart, it's the ability to recognize emotions, yours and others. Then to understand that emotional information, regulate it, and use it effectively. It's about leveraging feelings to guide your thoughts, drive your behavior, and ultimately get the results you want. It's applied feeling, really.
Applied feeling, I like that. Okay, to understand EQ, we first need to understand the building blocks,
Yeah.
emotions themselves. And it's wild, like you said, this isn't new. Plato observed ages ago that all learning has an emotional base.
It is wild, isn't it? Because for centuries after that, the dominant view was almost the opposite. Emotions were seen as messy, irrational, obstacles to clear thinking.
Something to be overcome, not utilized.
Exactly. It really wasn't until, well, the 1990s, with people like Salevi Mayer and Daniel Goleman really pushing this, that the perspective shifted. The realization dawned that emotions carry valuable information. They aren't noise, they're signals. They're a strength if you know how to read them.
So if there's signals,
Yeah.
what exactly are emotions? How do we define them?
Well, technically, they're mental states, feelings that pop up spontaneously. Often they come with physiological changes, heart racing, palms sweating.
A physical gut reaction.
Right, and they happen in response to how we perceive things. They're like our brain's quick tagging system for experience.
So sadness tells you, okay, this situation involves loss. Anger tags something as unfair or boundary crossed.
Precisely. They give you instant context and sort of prime you for a response.
And that response helps us understand primary versus secondary emotions, right?
Yeah.
That distinction seems important.
Very important. Primary emotions, think fear, anger, sadness, joy, maybe surprise. They're the raw, instinctive flash reactions. They hit fast.
But they don't usually stick around in that raw form for long.
Generally not. They often get replaced pretty quickly by a secondary emotion.
Mm.
The source example is good. A cyclist nearly hits your friend.
Okay.
Your primary emotion is that instant jolt of fear for their safety. But almost immediately, that fear might morph into secondary anger directed at the cyclist.
Ah, I see. The anger is like processing the event after the initial shock.
Exactly. It's a derived response, an offshoot. Understanding that switch, that processing, is a key step towards self-awareness.
Which perfectly leads us into the structure of EQ. Daniel Goleman's framework is the one that most people know, right? The 5 elements.
That's the most common one, yes. It gives us a really practical way to break EQ down into trainable competencies. Let's walk through them. We start with the absolute bedrock, self-awareness.
Know thyself. The old Greek maxim.
Pretty much. It's being tuned into your own internal world, your feelings, yes, but also your preferences, your values, your gut intuitions, what makes you tick. It's about consciously noticing what you're thinking, what you're doing, how you're feeling, moment by moment.
And how does just being aware help?
Well, there's this theory, self-focus theory, by Duvall and Wicklund back in '72. It suggests that when you focus inward, you naturally start comparing your current actions against your internal standards, your values. And if there's a mismatch, You feel you acted poorly or you're not living up to your potential, that discomfort actually motivates you to change. It fuels self-improvement and self-control.
So self-awareness is like the diagnostic tool. It spots the problem, the gap.
Exactly. And that brings us to the second element, which is the action part, self-regulation.
This is managing the response, right? Once you're aware of the feeling.
Precisely. It's the ability to manage your emotional reactions, your impulses, in a positive way to get the outcome you want. It's about choosing the best response for the situation.
It's not about not feeling. It's about deciding what to do with the feeling.
You nailed it. And it's not about suppressing emotion entirely. It's more about controlling the intensity, like
Yeah.
like adding salt to food, the analogy in the source.
Yeah, I like that one. Explain that.
Well, you wouldn't add the same amount of salt to a single fried egg as you would to a giant pot of stew, right?
Definitely not.
It's the same with emotions. The intensity of your response needs to fit the situation. A minor annoyance doesn't warrant a massive outburst. You have to regulate, otherwise you're either too salty overreacting or maybe too bland disengaged.
But regulating like that,
Yeah.
it sounds tiring.
It absolutely is, and that connects directly to a really key concept, ego depletion.
Okay, tell me about that.
Self-regulation, self-control. It draws on a limited pool of mental energy, like a battery. So if you spend your whole day doing things that require intense focus or constant self-control, dealing with difficult people, resisting temptations, forcing yourself through boring tasks, you drain that battery.
Okay. So if I've had a super stressful day, fighting fires at work, managing tricky situations,
Yeah.
by the time I get home, my battery's low. So I might snap at my partner over something small, just because I don't have the energy left to regulate.
That is the perfect textbook example of ego depletion in action. You've used up your self-control reserves. Those little outbursts, sometimes bigger breakdowns, they often happen when that energy is depleted.
Wow. Okay. That makes rest and recovery seem like actual EQ tools, not just downtime.
There absolutely are essential tools.
All right, moving on. Element number 3, motivation, the drive, the engine.
Yep. This is about the effort, a desire, the energy you put into pursuing goals, what gets you started and what keeps you going.
And there are different kinds, right? Intrinsic and extrinsic.
The classic distinction, yes. Intrinsic motivation comes from within. You do something because you find it satisfying, it aligns with your beliefs, you get moral gratification, or maybe just it's fun. You enjoy the process itself.
Like learning an instrument just because you love music.
Exactly. Then you have extrinsic motivation. This is driven by external factors, rewards that are separate from the activity. Things like money, bonuses, grades, praise, avoiding punishment.
Getting paid for the job, basically.
Often, yeah. And our motivation is deeply tied to our needs. Think Maslow's hierarchy.
Right, the pyramid. Physiological needs, safety, belonging.
Yeah. The idea is we're driven to satisfy unmet needs. You're not going to be motivated by, say, achieving self-actualization if you're worried about where your next meal is coming from or if you feel unsafe.
You tackle the foundational needs first. The unmet needs are the motivators.
Precisely. Only the needs you haven't yet fulfilled really push you forward.
Okay, that makes sense. Element 4 takes us outward. Empathy.
This is about connecting with others, understanding their experiences, their perspectives, and crucially, sharing or sensing their feelings, putting yourself in their shoes.
It sounds simple, but it's probably quite complex.
It is, and Goleman actually breaks empathy down into 3 distinct types, which is helpful.
What are they?
First is emotional empathy, sometimes called affective empathy. This is when you literally feel with the other person. Their emotions feel contagious. You see someone stressed, you feel tense.
That visceral mirroring.
Exactly. Then there's cognitive empathy. This is more intellectual. It's understanding the other person's perspective, how they might be feeling, what they might be thinking, but without necessarily feeling the emotion yourself. You get it, but you remain a bit detached.
Like a therapist might need to be sometimes, understanding without getting overwhelmed.
That's a good example, yes. And finally, there's compassionate empathy or empathic concern. This is feeling with them, understanding them, and being spontaneously moved to help them if you can. It combines the feeling and the understanding with action.
Okay, that's a powerful combination.
Yeah.
Emotional, cognitive, compassionate. Got it.
Yep.
And the final element, number 5, brings it all together in interaction. Social skills.
Right. This is where EQ becomes really visible and actionable in the world. Social skills are the specific tools we use to build relationships, communicate effectively, influence others, handle conflict, all that interpersonal stuff.
So things like being a clear speaker, knowing how to give feedback constructively, or even just how to listen actively.
Absolutely. Also, persuasion, negotiation, collaboration, conflict resolution, building rapport, asking for help effectively, apologizing sincerely. It's a broad category.
And without these, even if you have great ideas or high self-awareness, you can't really get things done with other people.
Pretty much. You could be brilliant, empathetic, motivated, but if you can't communicate clearly or navigate disagreements, your effectiveness in any team or social setting is going to be limited. Social skills are how you apply the other four elements to interact successfully.
Okay, that maps it out. Self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, social skills. Let's circle back now to that huge claim we started with the 80-20 split, EQ versus SIQ.
Yeah, it's worth revisiting the key difference we touched on. IQ is seen as relatively fixed, largely innate, and it's a decent predictor of academic success, like grades and test scores. EQ, on the other hand, is considered learnable. You can develop it through conscious effort and practice, and it seems to be the better predictor of success in life and at work.
And this is where it gets really counterintuitive, or maybe worrying. The research you mentioned shows IQ scores have generally been rising over decades, the Flynn effect, right?
Right.
But EQ scores have apparently dropped. By some estimates, maybe 25%? How does that work? We're getting cognitively smarter, but emotionally less adept.
It's a really provocative finding, isn't it? There are various theories, maybe changes in parenting, education focus, the impact of technology on face-to-face interaction. It suggests that modern life maybe isn't naturally cultivating these emotional skills as much as it used to.
Which underlines the point. High IQ alone isn't enough. If you can't manage stress during crisis or read the room in a meeting or inspire your team, that IQ isn't being deployed effectively.
Exactly. EQ unlocks the practical application of your cognitive abilities.
But we need to touch on the caveat here. The sources rightly point out that EQ is a set of skills, a tool, and tools can be used for good or ill.
That's a crucial point. High EQ doesn't automatically mean good person. These skills, understanding emotions, motivating people, influencing them, can be used manipulatively.
The source mentioned Hitler as a sort of dark example, using high emotional intelligence, especially around empathy and motivation, to manipulate people towards terrible ends.
Yes, it's a chilling reminder that competence and emotional intelligence is ethically neutral. It's about influence, and influence can be wielded destructively just as easily as constructively if the underlying intent is bad.
Okay, that's sobering.
Yeah.
But for most of us aiming for well-being, let's connect EQ to mental health. Why is it so vital there?
The link is incredibly strong. Research consistently ties low EQ to a higher risk for various mental health issues. Depression, anxiety disorders, borderline personality disorder, problems with substance abuse.
What's the mechanism there? Is it mainly the regulation part?
That seems to be a huge factor. People struggling with depression, for instance, often have immense difficulty recognizing their own emotions accurately and even more trouble regulating them. This can lead to that persistent negative filter on everything, even positive events.
They can't access the good feeling or manage the bad feeling.
Right. Difficulty regulating emotions is a common thread across many disorders. It impairs coping mechanisms.
And this ties into self-confidence too, doesn't it?
It does. Healthy self-confidence, that balanced belief in your ability to handle things, that's partly built on accurate self-awareness, knowing your strengths and weaknesses realistically, that's high EQ.
Which is totally different from arrogance.
Absolutely. Arrogance often masks insecurity. It usually comes with a lack of self-awareness, poor self-regulation, they don't control how they come across, and definitely a lack of empathy for how their behavior affects others.
Whereas low self-confidence, the other extreme, often kills motivation, right?
Exactly. If you lack that basic belief, I can probably handle this, you won't even try. It shuts down potential before you even start. Low confidence, low motivation, inaction.
Okay, so EQ is clearly crucial, and thankfully, it's learnable. Let's wrap up with some practical steps listeners can take. Where should someone start if they want to actively build their EQ?
One of the most fundamental starting points underpinning everything else is improving your emotional vocabulary.
Getting specific with the labels.
Exactly. Moving beyond just, I feel good, or I feel bad, or I'm stressed. Are you feeling disappointed, anxious, frustrated, resentful, excited, grateful, serene?
You need the right word to understand the signal.
Precisely. If you can't accurately name the feeling, you can't really analyze why you're feeling it, what triggered it, or how to manage it effectively, granularity matters.
Okay, so step one, label it accurately. What's next? Let's talk boosting motivation.
The sources suggest a simple but powerful self-check for motivation and competence. Before tackling something, ask yourself 3 key questions. 1, Can I actually do this? Do I have the skills, resources? 2, will doing this actually work? Will it lead to the outcome I want? And 3, is it worth it? Is the outcome valuable enough to me?
Can you do it? Will it work? Is it worth it?
Right. If you can genuinely answer yes to all 3, your sense of competence and your motivation get a significant boost.
There was a nuance there about why you're motivated.
Yes. True, sustainable self-motivation tends to come from wanting the positive consequences, the achievement, the satisfaction, the reward. It's less effective if you're just motivated by avoiding negative consequences, like fear of failure or punishment. Aim for the positive pull, not just the negative push.
Pull, not push. Got it. Finally, resilience. Handling stress, bouncing back. This seems tied closely to self-regulation.
Inseparable, really. Emotional resilience is your capacity to adapt to stress, to bend without breaking. It's managing those tough emotions effectively.
So how do we build that resilience alongside motivation?
A few tips from the sources. First, regularly revisit your why. Keep your goals visible, tangible. Reading them should reignite that initial drive.
Keep the purpose front and center.
Second, monitor your motivation levels consciously. Use that self-awareness. Don't wait until you're completely drained and burnt out. Check in. How am I feeling? Is my energy dipping? Then take proactive steps to recharge before you hit empty.
Be proactive, not reactive. Makes sense.
And third, actively practice finding the good and the bad. This isn't about toxic positivity or denying reality. It's about acknowledging the difficulty, but also consciously looking for any positive aspects, lessons learned, or unexpected benefits that came out of a negative situation. This helps prevent setbacks from totally derailing your motivation.
Okay, so refine vocabulary, check the 3 motivation questions, focus on the pull, revisit your why, monitor your energy, and find the good. That's a solid toolkit.
It's a great starting point. This whole deep dive really shows that EQ, built from these learnable skills, self-awareness, regulation, motivation, empathy, social skills, isn't just nice to have. It's the operating system that lets your IQ, your intelligence, actually perform effectively in the real world.
It's the key to unlocking potential, driving success, and fundamentally supporting better mental health and well-being.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So, since we know EQ isn't fixed, it's built through practice. Let's leave you with a final thought. We just talked about emotional vocabulary, listing quite a few specific feelings. Our question to you is, which one specific emotion, maybe one you often just label vaguely as bad or stressed, will you commit to really understanding and accurately labeling in yourself this week? Because that simple act of naming it precisely, that's where all the powerful change we've discussed really begins.